Hello. Today I'm going to talk about sanding down an acrylic tank. As you can see, I have an acrylic tank that has not been taken care of lately. I've been on vacation and didn't have anybody to really wipe down the sides of the tank, so it got quite a bit of coralline algae and algae on the tank. And so what I'm going to do is sand it down on the inside while the water's still in it. Fish are still in it, corals are still in it, and try to make the tank look like it's brand new. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to need to do to sand down my tank is I'm going to need a magnet, which you usually use to wipe down your acrylic tank anyways. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this magnet now. I use the grade white to have sandpaper, wet dry sandpaper that will sand the inside of the tank from me being on the outside. Now the second thing that I'm going to need to do is take some wet dry sandpaper. Now I'm starting out with very rough sandpaper. This is actually 600 grit sandpaper to start because I have a lot of coralline algae on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach Velcro onto the interior side of the magnet to hold the this wet dry sandpaper, waterproof sandpaper. I'm going to hold that on place onto the magnet here, and I'm going to Velcro down so the sandpaper stays in place. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I did my first pass, and what I'm trying to do is I'm going to go all the way across the tank here. And one of the things I find is I keep the small side of the magnet going down. And keep in mind, this is an 8-foot long tank, so it's going to be quite a project to sand this down. I'm using 600 grit to start, which is pretty coarse sandpaper, and it's going to feel like you're ruining your tank, to be honest with you, at first. But I've done this before, and the tank will come out brand new, looking like there's not a scratch on it. So you are not going to ruin your tank. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go across like this, and I'm using the small side to go across because I don't want the magnet to come off and go to the bottom of the tank. It's not the end of the world if it does, because I have tongs that reach down to the tank even though it's 3 feet deep. But you don't want that to happen too many times. It will happen, for me at least, because it's quite a process. You're going to do this over and over and over again. Now once I go horizontally, then I'm going to go vertically. So I'm going to go up and down all the way across the tank. It's very important to do this because what you don't want to do is make a big rut. So I'm going to go across this way, and then I'm going to go up and down. One of each, all the way across, really with this very 600 grit sandpaper until I get all the coralline algae off, all the algae off the tank. And then once I get that done, now because it's such coarse sandpaper, I put a lot of scratches in my acrylic. Now comes the long process of polishing the tank after I do that. So first step is let's get the coralline algae off. Then the next step is we'll start polishing. And it's going to be a work progress. Okay. I have done one pass, both going horizontal and vertically with the magnet. And as you may be able to tell, the lights are going down in the tank right now, but you could probably see I didn't get too much accomplished with one pass. Not only that, but I'm going to show you in a second, the sandpaper, it got pretty beat up with just this one round of going all the way across vertically, and then or horizontally, and then vertically. So I'll show you the sandpaper, but after one round. Okay, I've done 2 passes now with 600 grit paper, with sandpaper. It's the sandpaper that can get wet, so it's wet dry sandpaper. But this is the paper kind. As you see, it's a lot cheaper than, and this is an old version I used of the vinyl kind. Which I will get to. That's going to be the polisher. But right now I'm just trying to break up the coralline algae. And after 2 passes, I'm somewhat pleased. It's going to be a process because there's been a lot of neglect on the tank. It's all summer long. The tank has been on its own, running. Everything is fine. The salt got a little high because Neptune Systems and their salt monitor really kind of sucks. And so that allowed the salt to get a lot higher than I thought it should be, which the Coros have not liked too much. But overall, for a couple months of the tank being on its own, it's run pretty fine. So things are all alive. The fish are doing well. The Coros, for the most part, doing well. All right, this is what the tank looks like after. I haven't polished the outside of the tank. I need to do that still. But this is basically what the tank looks like after the entire procedure of sanding down the tank and restoring it. So started out kind of bad, and you know, when you first start out, it looks really bad, like you're ruining your tank, but it will come out fine. I ended up with 12,000 sandpaper, so and I'll show you where to get that in a second here. So this is micro mesh. They sell a kit for doing it, and it's mostly for acrylic, and then I changed it to be wet so that I could do it inside the tank by using the Velcro. But if you order this micro mesh, it will take you from pretty rough to very fine sanding surfaces. So the final touch I used was 12,000. I guess these are the used ones here. But I went with 12,000 is the polishing one. And it's, as you can see, pretty fine. So fine that I guess you cannot see the scratches it creates with the naked eye. So anyways, that's it. One last look at the tank. As you can see, things are pretty fine. Most of the abuse to the Coros and stuff came because the tank was neglected really all summer long. So I basically just let the tank sit and went on trips, and you know, just was too busy doing other things and not really wiping the tank down on a daily basis, which, or at least every other day, wiping the algae off the tank. But things are good. So now, hopefully over the winter, you pay a little bit more attention to your tank if you're like me, and the tank will recover and do pretty well. All right, thanks.